Now to the latest headlines on the novel coronavirus pandemic. It will be a St. Patrick's Day like no other for many across the world. Let's take a look here at the latest numbers across the tri-state. There have been 950 confirmed cases in New York State, 463 of those here in New York City. There have been 7 deaths. In New Jersey, there have been 178 cases with 3 deaths. Connecticut has 41 cases, but so far, no deaths. Effective at 8 o'clock last night, bars and restaurants were ordered to close in all 3 states. Only food deliveries and pickups are allowed. Gyms, movie theaters, and casinos across the tri-state also ordered to close. We do have team coverage this morning. Tracie Strahan's live in New Jersey, where a suggested statewide curfew is now in effect. But first, today in New York's Myles Miller's live on the east side with more on these changes and how they're impacting St. Patrick's Day celebrations across the area. Myles, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you. Yeah, it's sort of unheard of that McSorley's old ale house won't be open for St. Patrick's Day, but it's a sign of our changing times. You can see that sign. It said open to 8 o'clock yesterday. They raised their parting glass last night because of concerns over the coronavirus. It's forcing bars like it and restaurants throughout the city to close. This is a huge industry in New York City. Combined, bars, restaurants, cafes, and food trucks bring in about $4.7 billion in wages each year. If you took that perspective, plus the amount of people who work in those restaurants, those bars, those food trucks, we're talking about nearly 200,000 employees. It would be the largest single employer in New York State. But under the mayor's order, restaurants are only allowed to serve takeout meals or deliveries, and for bars, it's a complete loss.
We're trying, but it's no business right now.
The businesses are hurting, all of them are hurting really bad right now.
And we are told that the NYPD has the ability to enforce these new rules. We're talking about bar and restaurant owners facing summonses up to arrest if they are to open restaurants, bars today on St. Patrick's Day, and patrons who refuse to leave can also be arrested. It's sort of unheard of for these Irish songs not to be sung in pubs and in bars across the city, but it's our new reality. I can't remember a St. Patrick's Day where folks in my family haven't sung songs like Parting Glass and The Wild Rover. It's definitely a different feeling here in New York this morning. We're in the East Village. I'm Myles Miller, today in New York.
Certainly is. All right, Myles, thank you so much.
But even before the mandatory closures that Myles was reporting on, a flood of people seeking jobless benefits crashed New York State's unemployment site. A spokesperson says the agency took nearly 9,000 calls before noon. This is from laid-off workers who are rushing to try and replace their lost income, and this is a 65% increase in just a week. Now, similar to New York City, casinos, gyms, bars, restaurants in the Garden State, they're also being shut down. That starts tomorrow. Schools will be closed, too. Today in New York's Tracie Strahan joins us live from Newark, where the schools are already closed. Tracie.
Well, Michael, we're also less than an hour away from that curfew that was put into place by Governor Murphy being lifted. It's supposed to end at 5 o'clock for non-essential travel. We're also hours away from schools like this one in Newark serving students even though they are shut down. Now, let's show you some video now as we continue to see the impact of the spread of the coronavirus all throughout the state. Governor Murphy on Monday urged residents to stay home after 8 o'clock, activating that curfew to fight the spread of the coronavirus. Now, we want to point out it's not mandatory, but certainly being urged. It went into effect hours after the governor also ordered that all public and private schools across the state shut down. Newark schools were ahead of the curve, but now they have to tend to the 29,000 students in the district who rely on meals every day.
We will not put students, educators, and staff and their families at risk.
Now, we saw the impact of that curfew on businesses from day one. As you mentioned, bars, gyms, eat-in restaurants ordered to shut down. Now, those restaurants, as we've been saying, still provide takeout and delivery, but those businesses have to remain closed until the state governments say they can reopen. Schools, however, with that closure from Governor Murphy, are shut down indefinitely. As we bring you back live here to McKinley Elementary School, they'll be serving breakfast and lunch to students starting at 9:30 this morning. They're one of 16 schools in the district who will be doing so. We're live in Newark this morning. Tracie Strahan. Today in New York, Michael, we'll send it back to you.
Yeah, trying to continue to provide that important function. Tracie, thanks so much.
All right.
And as we mentioned earlier, there are now 41 coronavirus cases in Connecticut, the majority of them in Fairfield County. Drive-through testing for coronavirus has now been approved at 7 Connecticut hospitals, 4 of them in Fairfield, Bridgeport Hospital, Danbury Hospital, Greenwich, and Stamford Health. But a doctor's approval and an appointment are needed.